And once you realize what's going on here, it's like, oh, really? That's it?
You've seen the memes. You've heard the gossip. And now you can see the movie. Don't Worry, Darling opens in theaters today, Friday, September 23rd.
There's an actual movie attached to all of this.
Yeah.
People went out and they made a movie and now it exists in the world. So we're going to talk about Don't Worry, Darling. If you have not yet subscribed to us, now is the time. Today is the day for reviews of films like this. We've got Smile and Bros coming next week. Tar down the road. All the big fall stuff is coming. And again, my goal is to hit 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm feeling good about this, you guys, and we would love to have you join us.
Frank has built something truly special. What he's created out here, it's a different way. A better way.
Florence Pugh and Harry Styles are a young, attractive married couple. Their names are Alice and Jack. They live in this idyllic, planned community in the desert called Victory. It is suburban Shangri-La. Like, I want to live in Victory. It's all amazing mid-century modern houses, and the wives all wear these like adorable little cocktail dresses, and like the men have these sleek convertibles, and they go off to work every day, and the wives give them a kiss, and then, they have to do housework, of course. But every day is the same, and that is part of the allure of this place, is the safety and the security and the reliability of it. But Alice increasingly suspects that all is not right here. She's having these flashes, these visions of something that are haunting her, but she can't quite put a finger on what they are. We're going to have to do a whole separate spoiler conversation.
I was just thinking about this. We're not going to do it. We're not going to spoil it now. We will leave that up to be a mystery. But
I have so many questions. So you and I got to talk through that eventually. So she begins to suspect something is wrong. She begins like snooping around. She begins asking too many questions. Chris Pine plays Frank, who is the founder of this place and of the nebulous Victory Project, which is vaguely some kind of possible weapons development. Who knows? But the wives don't ask questions. It's actually a good life. If she didn't really worry, darling, it would be okay. I mean, she gets to go shopping and like day drink with her girlfriends, and then Harry Styles comes home from work and goes down on her on the dining room table. Like, that's a good life.
You have a marinated steak every day.
Right. Every day. It's delicious breakfast waiting for you. And so, anyway, it gets increasingly tense. So the problem with this is that there's sort of an alluring premise at play here. And from a technical perspective, it's flawless. Like, Matthew Libatique shot it, who was Darren Aronofsky's usual cinematographer. So everything has this like shimmering Southern California gleam to it. It's beautiful. The dresses, the clothes, the hair,
design,
the makeup,
the production design, all that stuff.
Flawless, totally flawless. It is like a magazine spread come to life. That's all aces. As you go along, though, and once you realize what's going on here, it's like, oh, really? That's it? That's what's happening? And then it grows increasingly silly and unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah.
So it just gets away from her. And the irony of this whole thing is that the mantra of this place is the need for control and the need to keep chaos at bay. Working together, unity, living together, playing together, working together. We're all stronger together. And the irony is that this thing just spirals wildly out of control out of Olivia Wilde's hands. It's her second film, and this one lacks all of the focus and the emotional authenticity that Booksmart had. Like, that felt true, and those characters felt real, and you related to them. And this is, of course, a different exercise in a different genre, but like, it just gets so silly. And Harry Styles is so outmatched. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, Florence Pugh is the one other thing in this movie apart from the visual, sensations that is unimpeachable. Like, she is acting the hell out of this movie.
Powerhouse.
The script is a hot mess because if you're gonna do a movie where something terrible is happening, then you either need to like get to what the something terrible is, or at least have the clues accumulate and add up to something. But here it's just like, something terrible is happening. Something terrible is happening. Something terrible is happening. It's like, God, get to it already, movie. And then when the movie does finally start revealing things, all the reveals feel like reveals you've seen in other movies. And we're not going to
don't list them.
I'm not going to get into the specifics here, but it's like, I jokingly said on Twitter, I'm surprised they left out, the ruins of the Statue of Liberty and Bruce Willis being dead the whole time, because it's like, oh, so okay, that's from that, and that's from that, and that's from that. I mean, so yeah, and also given that this is a movie that is sort of setting itself up as this very sort of, maybe not cerebral, but at least sort of intelligent and stylish thriller where everything's sort of glossy on the surface, that there's something, horrible brimming underneath, that they then have to rely on a car chase in the last act just kind of feels like we don't know what we're doing. We have to do something to keep the audience awake,
Yeah, I mean, she's trying to explore like the tyranny of the patriarchy disguised as domestic bliss, right?
Sure,
Which we have seen done with more smarts and more insight a lot of other places. Yeah, for sure. I mean, among the things that we can refer to is the Stepford Wives, for sure. It's got a lot of Stepford Wives, got a lot of Mad Men. The idea that this thing that looks so sleek and sexy and stylish, but also safe was better. It's not. I mean,
it's
that's
oppressive. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing new about that. There's one fantastic scene between Florence Pugh and Chris Pine. Right? There's this dinner party scene and they go toe to toe, and there's such a charge to that. There is such potential there. And it's like, oh, we could have had this all along. Like actors who are really one another's equal, who are really pushing each other and bringing out the best in each other. Harry Styles, I mean, he's meant to be empty and kind of pretty here. That is part of the role. What's so weird with this too, I don't want to get too deep into the background stuff of the controversy, but like Shia LaBeouf was supposed to play this role originally, and I absolutely cannot see him in it.
It would have been a different take for sure, and the other thing about this movie, and I mean, it's not necessarily a slam against this movie, but it was kind of a letdown for me, is that like the sex scenes between Harry Styles and Florence Pugh are fun. Like these characters are having a good time. This is like, sort of joyfully erotic, which we always talk about how movies are so skittish about sex scenes now, and so many of the big sort of like superhero movies seem to be kind of lacking in that department. And I was like, okay, well, this is at least happening. But then of course, by the end of the movie, once you learn all the things you learn, it's kind of like, oh, that's bad too then. Okay, never mind.
I don't know that is bad. And this is something that you and I should talk about more in depth with our spoiler discussion eventually.
Down the road.
Because I have an idea about why the sex scenes are the way they are.
Okay.
There's an ideal kind of nature to them.
And
it makes sense once you know what's actually happening here.
Yes, it ties into plot things, absolutely. But
among the many movies it's reminded me of is Midsummer. Because once again, you got Florence Pugh. She's the voice of reason. Yeah. She's trying to tell everybody something's wrong. They're all gaslighting her. And she's like running and crying through a field. Like, when will people listen to Florence Pugh? She is always right.
She always knows.
She does. So what's your number then?
I give it a 4.5 again for all the things you mentioned, all the costume and the cinematography and production design and Florence Pugh. But boy, this movie just goes off the rails hard.
It really does. I'm saying 4.8. Olivia Wilde herself is in this as well as Florence Pugh's neighbor and best friend. And she's fun in like a subversive kind of irreverent, sexy, playful way. But, anyway. So don't worry, darling. Are you going to see it? Let us know what your thoughts are.